Hey everybody, it's the History Teacher. In this episode, we'll look at the First World War. By the early 20th century, a growing spirit of nationalism created tension among European countries. Nations sought to protect themselves through complex alliances. These included the Triple Alliance of Germany, Italy, Austria, which opposed the Triple Entente of France, England, and Russia. The Triple Alliance countries are also referred to as the Central Powers. These two sets of allies would confront each other in the First World War. In June 1914, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated by a Serbian nationalist. Immediately, the alliance system pulled the major European powers into war. Austria declared war against Serbia, believing that the nationalists could be easily crushed. Germany sent troops to support Austria, but also to protect its own interests. Russia backed Serbia. France backed Russia and also feared for its own borders once Germany had mobilized. England jumped in and so did Italy, both against Germany even though Italy had been Germany's ally. With all these countries committed to fighting, World War I began. Most Europeans were supportive of the war, believing that the fighting would be quick and that it would bring glory to each nation. That belief proved terribly wrong. Because of new weapons technology such as poison gas, the machine gun, tank, and airplane, and methods of fighting trench warfare, this war was exceedingly long, brutal, and costly in terms of human lives and money. The sides were evenly matched, so the war consisted mainly of battles in which tens of thousands of soldiers were slaughtered within hours. The German war plan called for quickly defeating France before swinging its forces to the east and defeating Russia. To that end, Germany invaded neutral Belgium and committed atrocities against Belgian civilians. After an initial rapid advance, however, the Germans were stopped in northeast France and the war in Western Europe would remain a stalemate for the next 2.5 years. On the Eastern Front, despite their plan not working as expected, the Germans managed to decisively defeat Russian forces at Tannenberg in August 1914. In 1916, Germany attempted to punch through the French and British lines at the battles of Verdun and the Somme, but failed. More than 1 million casualties resulted from these battles. Also in 1916, the German High Seas Fleet attempted to break the British naval blockade of Germany, but at the end of May, the Royal Navy repelled that attempt at the Battle of Jutland in the North Sea, though with significant loss of life. In April 1917, the United States declared war on Germany, instigated by pro-English sentiments and aggressive submarine warfare from the Germans, which had resulted in American deaths and threatened American interests. That same year, the Russian Revolution took Russia out of the war. The new Bolshevik government signed an armistice with Germany, the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. The entry of the United States on the side of England and France meant that desperately needed reinforcements and supplies could be brought to bear against Germany. American forces did not arrive in strength until early 1918, and by September of that year, German forces were being slowly pushed out of France. By this time, both the German military and German society were near the breaking point, exhausted by 4 years of war and suffering from food shortages brought about by the German naval blockade. Peace talks quickly culminated in an agreement to cease fighting on November 11, 1918. Immediately after the war's end, a revolt occurred in Germany. The German emperor abdicated and fled, while moderate socialists assumed control. The new government, called the Weimar Republic, ruled until 1933. The war officially ended with the Treaty of Versailles, which was negotiated in 1919. The negotiations were led by the so-called Big Four: American President Woodrow Wilson, British Prime Minister David Lloyd George, French Premier Georges Clemenceau, and Italian Premier Vittorio Orlando. Wilson was the voice of moderation, hoping that this would be an opportunity to establish international laws and standards of fairness. His 14 points addressed these issues and called for the creation of a joint council of nations called the League of Nations. But the other leaders, especially Clemenceau, wanted revenge on Germany. They wanted to cripple Germany economically so it could never again pose a threat. The resulting Treaty of Versailles was a compromise of Wilson's idealism and the desire for vengeance. Germany lost its overseas colonies, its military was dismantled, some of its territory was occupied, it was required to pay $30 billion in reparations, and was forced to accept total responsibility for the war. The treaty did create Wilson's League of Nations, but the U.S. never joined it, and it proved a weak institution. Great Britain, France, and Italy lost more people in the First World War than in the Second World War, which suggests how lethal of a conflict it was. As a result of the war, the empires of Austria-Hungary, Russia, Germany, and of the Ottomans in Turkey all disappeared. This was a war of lasting impact, and the world didn't have to wait long to see the impact. The harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles incited a deep resentment in Germany, which helped to fuel the rise of Adolf Hitler over the following decades. The, quote, war to end all wars ended in a peace which lasted only for 20 years. All right, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.